Namaskar. Today is a special hangout with Abhijit Iyer-Mitra on this storm in a teacup, if you want to call it that way, about the US Navy ship carrying out freedom of navigation operation in India's exclusive economic zone off of the coast of Lakshadweep. To get a little bit better perspective, let's go to our geosecurity expert, Abhijit Iyer-Mitra. Abhijit, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Vetrivel, thanks for having me on.
On that note, there were several Tamil Nadu politicians who started their speech with Vetrivel. In fact, many of them took pictures with the whale in their hands. So you are really creating a trend here, Abhijit, and let's hope that you will come on and go on to do more such one-liners which will be imbibed in toto. So that's a good trend. So you are really a fashion maker here. So please, let's get back to serious matters. On April 7th.
Alhamdul Ganesha, this will continue.
So what does Alhamdul mean?
Alhamdul means, it should be Alhamdulillah, which is God willing. I just changed the Allah to Ganesha.
What is different between Inshallah and that?
By the blessings of and by the will of.
I see. Nuances. Great. So India told US that conducting military exercises is a total violation of the UN Convention in India's waters without consent. I'm just setting the context here. In a statement, MEA said that US Navy ship John Paul Jones was continuously monitored transiting from the Persian Gulf towards the Malacca Straits. India's displeasure came after US Navy, in an unusual move, announced that one of its ships conducted patrols in the Indian exclusive economic zone, right, without seeking consent. Now, it turns out that US has done similar exercises in September 2019 and July 2020 also, right? So the US, the only difference is that when those two exercises were conducted, there was no statement put out by US. This time there was a statement put out by US. This is how I see it. And US also says that it is not a signatory to UNCLOS. What is UNCLOS? United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea, which is what India is quoting, although the press release does not say that part. Okay, so be that as it may, we just want to try and get a handle around this thing and take it from here. Abhijit, I'm sorry to have taken so long setting the context. It's over to you.
Okay, so there's several parts to this, which is that America actually claims it's upholding UNCLOS, which includes the freedom of navigation and the freedom of military navigation. Right? Now remember, an exclusive economic zone is just that. India carries out economic activities in that zone. You don't prevent ships from moving through. Okay, so in that thing, it's sort of like an air defense identification zone that China imposed, wherein, China says anybody coming, even though we don't own the sky, anybody coming in here has to notify us that you're coming in here. So this is prone to several differing interpretations and so on and so forth. Now, India never had a problem. India's whole point of declaring that exclusive economic zone was to ensure that all Chinese ships, and basically all ships, because the Malacca Straits are heavily piracy prone, that all ships transiting through there will identify themselves to the Indian base, which will make the surveillance a lot easier to carry out. You identify the ships who haven't, and then you mark them as suspicious. So if you want to intercept anything, or because you have limited intelligence resources, you direct intelligence only towards those ships that have not identified themselves, or you can take action against the Chinese if they don't, and you use it as a bargaining tool. You say that in the South China Sea, you have imposed the same thing. So how dare you oppose us imposing the same thing out here, right? So it's done as a very reciprocal measure. Now, America has been challenging this for a long time, but to quote Hillary Clinton's words, our differences differences between friends should not see daylight, which is to say, whatever differences allies have, we discuss that in private. We do not make it public, because making it public does not help the situation at all, especially when you're democracies and each democracy has its own sort of nationalist crowd to appease back home. So, what has happened that was different this time? What was different was America put out formal statements. It has done this to South Korea, it has done this to Maldives, it has done this to India. Now, what was the need to put out this statement? Because for the last 10 years, we allowed them to do everything. We didn't even register a diplomatic process. We knew they were doing it. We were perfectly fine with them doing it, because it was never aimed at them. It was only aimed at the Chinese. So, in making this public, think about it. Who has benefited the most? China. On one hand, we have been equated, we've put in the same basket as China. On second, without saying so, our intermilitary relations have been downgraded to the point that we have to be publicly named and shamed. I mean, if you can call it shaming, it's not shame, it's just a difference of opinion, but you get the drift. And most importantly, what does it do? It reduces, now America has a lot of leverage against China, but India does not. This is one of the few levers we have, and it's a particularly important lever because of the control of the Malacca Straits. So this didn't happen in the Malacca, it happened in the Western Sea. But see, you can, it's the same principle. If it's done in the Arabian Sea, it can also be done in the Bengal Sea. And that was kind of the point. You don't say we are going to have an EEZ only on the Andaman Islands. We're not going to have it around the Lakshadweep Islands, because then everybody will know it's being done only for China, right? So you've basically told, what the Americans have said is, South Korea and India are the same to us that China is. We are going to name you and shame you publicly. We are going to humiliate you publicly. We are going to make a fight of something which was never a fight between us. Right? So this is, let me give you a home example. This is like me coming to California and staying at your house on your invitation. And, you say that, well, my house is my house, so only people I invite can come in. And because you've given me a blanket invitation, come whenever you want, I just keep dropping in whenever I want. But then tomorrow, what happens is, I say, because I have been allowed into your house, everybody else should also be allowed into your house. And I didn't come into your house because you invited me or kept an open door policy for me, or didn't mind me coming and using your spare bedroom. You only allowed me to do it because I used a danda and an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle to threaten you and come into your house, and that is why you made me do it. You're spitting on the person who is housing you. You're spitting on the person who is giving you that dinner that night. Why would you do that? See, it's that French foreign minister of Napoleon, Talleyrand, he used to say, it's worse than a crime, it's a blunder. I suspect, though, this is an intentional blunder, given how compromised Joe Biden is. And amusingly, nobody wants to talk about Hunter Biden's laptop. You tell me, with those kind of images, how compromised Hunter Biden has to be. Okay, screwing prostitutes, clearly having his teeth damaged by very hard drug usage, playing all kinds of raunchy sex games with prostitutes, his cocaine addiction completely documented, cocaine or more, because that kind of teeth only happens with severe crystal meth addiction, which you also know is very hard to break, incidentally. Crystal meth has one of the lowest rates of rehabilitation and things like that. There has never been a more demonstrably compromised president than Joe Biden. And the very fact that his son has business links with the Chinese, you think the Chinese don't know about this? And this is a president who lied on a presidential debate and said it was Russian disinformation, when in fact we now know, because of forensic evidence, it is not Russian disinformation. It is in fact his laptop. Nothing has been modified or added to it. So there's a lot of things worrying out here. If you remember, Sree, on this very program sometime before, I had told you that this man is not he's not going to not take action on China. He is going to say a lot of things about China, but not do a lot of things about China. Mostly what he will do for China is to alienate all your other friends in the region, so China's relative power to them goes up significantly, and that is what he is doing. This is what Obama also used to do.
Now, there is also insiders sources that say that this whole statement that the United States put out this time around, which they did not the previous two times, was just to kind of provoke some sort of a statement back from India. And this could have been the mischief of some, South Asia, especially our neighbor lovers that are in the current Biden administration. We don't know if that's true or not, but be that as it may, one thing that what you said I wanted to touch upon is Hunter Biden. They tried to do a do-over, image do-over of his by getting him on some channels and so on and so forth. But he did admit that that particular laptop was indeed his, but it is like most likely mine. I mean, trying to dilute it as much as possible, but nobody is buying that. But what are your thoughts? Is there something like this? There's a group inside the Joe Biden camp. You will always have hawks and doves towards any country.
Sree, I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I don't believe in the shit about deep state. I have no respect for people who peddle conspiracy theories or deep state theories, because there is no such thing as deep state. There is no such thing as conspiracy. What happens is that you have a government whose ideological fellow travelers who get all these bureaucratic postings are all similarly compromised and therefore work towards a similar goal without realizing that they're all working in tandem. Right? So, for example, nobody said Pakistan is the enemy in India, but generally everybody in the military knows that when you're doing military planning, your first worry is going to be Pakistan. That's not deep state. That's just, the way things are. Exactly. So in this particular case, this is just a lot of people who have decided that, we need to be more open about principles, or it's that, South Korea and India aren't really that different from China, and we need to make China, China is getting very upset with us. So we need to show China that, we also do this to our friends in order to be able to justify doing it to you the next time we meet you. There could also be a whole load of simple explanations as well. It's not just compromise. It's also this whole ideology, brainwashing of the left in America. So no, I don't think it's Pakistanis or things like that, though certain elements within this collective response, and this had to have been a collective decision to put out these press remarks, are almost certainly compromised to China.
Well, now you have it. So I think it's important to try, and I think the takeaway from what you said was what Hillary Clinton said, that differences among friends should not see the light of the day. That's, I think, a very important takeaway. Let's hope that this, subsides at this point. Thank you very much, Abhijit, for joining us and expressing your ideas and thoughts on what really was happening, and for giving us the backgrounder on the EEZ, I think, Exclusive Economic Zone. Thank you very much. And again, viewers, please do subscribe to our channel. And we have our Muruga worshipper saying, what are you saying?
Veil, veil, vetri veil.
Veil, veil, vetri veil, veera veil. Thank you very much, Abhijit.
Thank you.